Everybody, Mega 31 back here for FSI DFS. I'll be breaking down the 9-game slate for Wednesday, June 15th. If you're looking for the early slate, just pause the video, go to our channel. McKinley did a great breakdown on that one. Kind of gross slate, I'll tell you with pitching wise, more of maybe a degen slate. DraftKings has it on all 6 games start at 105. FanDuel has it broken down into 2 sections. They have a 3-game slate at 105 and a 3-game slate at 305. So check that out for that information. But really nice slate today. No weather concerns as of right now. I did watch the news this morning. It does look like there's like a lot of storms across the United States. It could be very severe around Chicago, around the southeast. Heat, very, very hot. So great conditions for hitting. So just keep an eye on weather in case something changes. And as always, we say, you know, if you watch this video earlier, check back around like 6:30 or so. If something major changes, we'll try to post some information in the comments here. Other people ask great questions too. So always check the comments for the video. It can help you learn a lot, and feel free to ask questions too, but we'll get to that at the end of the video. Anyways, looking at this slate, we've got some pitching options. We've got some hitting options, so let's just get right into it here. So first off, we got Atlanta Braves at the Washington Nationals. The Braves bats did come alive last night, but unfortunately it was more of a case of having the bottom of the lineup go off instead of the top of the lineup, but you will have that. So pitching wise, Spencer Strider, really like him against Washington. Washington doesn't strike out a lot, but Strider is a decent strikeout pitcher, so I think you can manufacture some more than an average pitcher against them. Fetty on the other side, not interested in here with this Braves lineup that's been really hot. So Strider, I think, makes a great SP1 on FanDuel. And I think he'll go long enough, 80, 90 pitches to get the quality start, probably the win. And on the other side for DK, I think he makes a great SP2. Bat-wise, Atlanta, I think, is my second favorite stack on the slate. Washington on the other side, I think, is just a leverage stack. If Strider's going to have a lot of ownership, I don't like a ton of them against him. Next up, we have the Tampa Bay Rays and the New York Yankees. This should be a really good pitching matchup. It's only going to be 73 degrees, so it's not going to be like some of these 90-degree games that you have out there. Wind blowing in at about 10 miles per hour. So you have 2 really good pitchers here. You have McClanahan and Cortez. I'm going to lean Cortez here as my favorite one, but I think you can play any of them. I don't think it's really going to... I think it's going to be close between these two, but there's a huge savings when it comes to McClanahan or Cortez over McClanahan. You're saving almost $500 here. So, I mean, that could be key to getting a decent bat in. So I think, you know, looking at the 2 of them and in this slate too, it might be a time to stack both of them. And we'll go over, you know, how you can get 2 really good stacks in today and play both the pitchers in this contest. But like I said, I think I'm leaning Cortez. Bat-wise, obviously the Yankees are probably the top leverage stack on the slate. If people are going to play McClanahan against a decent pitcher, probably going to have low ownership. If he has an off night, he is a lefty against a lineup that has a lot of decent righties in it. So I think they're always a threat to play. They're almost becoming matchup proof, kind of like the Dodgers were last year and at some points this year. Tampa Bay on the other side is still missing some other key bats. I think, again, you can play them as a leverage stack, but that's about it. Baltimore Orioles and the Toronto Blue Jays, same division, just wrong team. So we have Bruce Zimmerman here against Jose Barrios. Zimmerman, not interested in. He's been good at times, but this right-handed, you're going to see almost all right-handed bats from the Toronto lineup. You're probably going to see Gurriel come in, or Espinal over Biggio's probably going to get a seat today. So it's just going to be straight up all right-handed bats, all power bats. So good luck, Bruce Zimmerman. We're not playing you today. You're number 1 on the fade list. Barrios, on the other hand, makes a really good case here. He's Out of the last 5 starts, he's had at least 18 DK points, and that was there was a bad game against the Angels there where he really struggled, but he's had some strikeouts. Some of the games have been in the 20 and 30s, so I think he's definitely could probably get you around 20 DK points here. So I think that's definitely a great SP1 if you're paying down and pair him with Strider to get a lot of bats in, or if you're playing Cortez or McClanahan, then a SP2 candidate for you there. Bat-wise, Orioles are cheap, but I don't think you really need them here because there's a lot of cheap bats in better spots. And Toronto, I think, is probably my 3rd favorite stack on the slate here. Oakland Athletics and Boston Red Sox, you have Caprillion, who is facing them. He's a fade for me. No, he's had some good spots last year in his rookie year, but he's really struggled since then. So I'm not going to play him, especially against like some of these lefties in the Boston lineup. On the Boston side, you have Josh Winkowski. He had one start against Baltimore, went back down to AAA. He's not been bad in AAA, so I think for a dart at 5K, he's not a bad play. Wind is blowing in, it's 70 degrees here, so it's a little bit cooler. So Fenway's a decent hitting park, but the weather elements aren't making it conducive for hitting. It's kind of favoring pitching. So I think this guy has been stretched out in AAA at 5K. If he can go and against one of the worst lineups in baseball here, which is almost a AAA team, he's been decent in AAA. He really hasn't walked guys. He has some strikeouts, so I think he's playable, like I said here. A little bit risky, so I have the dart designation next to him. It's more of a GPP play than a cash play, but I think definitely in play here. So A's, I think, you could do as a cheap stack or a leverage stack if you do think he's going to struggle, but Boston has a decent bullpen. And the Red Sox, I really like, is probably my #1 GPP play here, but especially the lefties here, looking at Devers, Verdugo, maybe Jackie Bradley, Frenchie Cordero if he's in there, and then you can probably throw some righties in if you want to make it a 5-man stack. Just make sure like their batting positions correlate with the ones that you picked with the left-handed bats. Moving on to the Milwaukee Brewers and New York Mets. Again, this is probably going to be a more of a pitching game than a hitting game. You have Corbin Burns and David Peterson. I really don't like either pitcher here. Burns is at 10-2 is so expensive. Cortez and McClanahan are definitely ones that I like above him. He just hasn't been the same guy as a Cy Young guy. I don't know if it was just like people have a better book on him this year, or he's dealing with some kind of injury, or I don't think he was a victim of the Stickum stuff because I think he did well after that. So I just don't know what's going on with Burns. But yes, he's in a pitching park, but he's against the Mets team that's very disciplined. They don't walk, they don't strike out. So I just said 10-2. I just really don't see him manufacturing enough strikeouts. Even if he goes like a complete game in this, like, will he score enough to pay off his 10-2 price tag? I don't think so. I really see him at like maybe 20 DK points, and I just think there's such a bigger ceiling with Cortez and McClanahan. So he's not completely out of the picture. He is a decent pitcher, and baseball, anything can happen. We've seen that. So we saw Miles Mikolas almost get a no hitter last night. Like, I kind of goes against Pittsburgh, but strange things happen. And Detmers did have a no hitter this year. So like, not saying that that's going to happen, but just looking at the range of outcomes that are potentially going to happen here, I just don't think he gets enough. So he's 3rd on the list. Play him GPP, but I'm not playing him in cash. Peterson on the other side has struggled this year again. The weather, the park help him here. Milwaukee is probably going to throw almost an all right-handed lineup. Yelich does decent against. Tellis might be the only other left-hander in the lineup here, but you're going to see like Adames, McCutcheon, who's really good against left-handed pitching. Renfroe, Taylor might be in there. Caratini, catcher, Kane. So not super interested in him. But I think in the medium range, if you want to pivot off Barrios, I don't think he's a horrible play. I think there's limited upside. Let's just say that. So bat wise, Milwaukee, I think, is my 2nd favorite cheap stack. These guys are so cheap. You got 2 guys over 4K and everybody else in the 3K ranges. It almost looks like FanDuel pricing on DK. It's crazy. So, they're definitely an option there. Mets on the other side, I think, would be the #2 leverage stack against Burns, and will have very low ownership. Okay, next up we have Pittsburgh and St. Louis. Rosany Contreras, really good young pitcher, can throw like 100 miles per hour. He just throws, he's a flamethrower. The only problem is he only has a couple of pitches. He doesn't have a third or fourth pitch. So it's just gas, 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 gas. So like how long can he go into games if he's just throwing that hard? The other factor here is it's going to be 95 degrees with the wind blowing out about 12, 13 miles per hour in St. Louis. So it's great hitting conditions here. So he's very risky, but I think at his price tag of 6'9", it's somebody that you can definitely consider if you're paying down for SP2, especially in tournaments. The Cardinals aren't a team that strikes out a ton, but if you're throwing at like 100 miles per hour, that's very hard, even for a team that has great plate discipline, to be able to time it and catch up on it. So I think that even though the park factor is great with the weather, that if you can't catch up to the 100 miles per hour coming at you, then the ball's not going anywhere. So he's in play. Flaherty, I like him too, but it's really probably it's going to be his first start of the season here. This is kind of like an extended spring training for him up in the major leagues. Instead of sending him down for a couple of games or simulated games, he's going to get 60 pitches here against Pittsburgh. What can you get in there at 8K? I don't think, even if he strikes out everybody in 60 pitches and goes like 3 or 4 innings, it definitely in FanDuel is a no. Here, I just not interested in it. It's just not the slate to play him with so many other options. It's not like it's a 3-game slate and like everybody's in play. So just put him on the no interest page. Pittsburgh, I think in 150 max you can do. In St. Louis, I think against this guy, if they can figure out the fastball, or he doesn't go very long because he's throwing so hard and they want to keep his pitch count down just because of the torque on the arm, just throwing that hard. St. Louis, I think definitely can get to the bullpen and be a decent stack, especially in this hitting weather. So it may stack in favor GPP stack. Really high total here. The Padres and the Cubs, just like last night, they just put up runs left and right. We knew it was coming. Chaminade was a great pitcher. Went there and really struggled against them. So today we have Ryan Weathers, who's probably the worst pitcher on the slate here, getting his first start of the season. He's only 4K. He's an absolute no for me. I think the Cubs are absolutely going to destroy him. They have a 6.09 total. Probably one of the best stacks on the slate, and they are so cheap. Besides, like Contreras at 4.4, everybody, and Morel at 4.3, everybody else is 3 or 2K. So like they're gonna be super popular, super chalky here. On the other side, this Caleb Killian, he is a really, really good, talented pitcher. And San Diego does strike out a lot. Without Tatis in the lineup, it's a completely different lineup this year. And some of the guys that they have in there, I think at 6'3", he's somebody also that you can consider as an SP2, as a pivot off Strider or Contreras or Winkowski here. I think he's another dart that you can throw in there, and that I think he'll get enough to pay off his price tag and be able to do well there. So bat wise, San Diego would probably be my 4th favorite stack, just because he is decent. He should be able to hold them at bay. And then they'll get to the bullpen. I know both teams used a lot of arms yesterday with the high scoring one, but I really think the Cubs are probably one of the top stacks on the slate, especially with their price tag. In San Diego, I won't have as many shares as yesterday, just because I think that they'll be able to be held in check a little bit by this young, talented pitcher before they get to the bullpen, but I think they can put up runs later on. And that's exactly what kind of happened last night too. So they're definitely in play, but I like the Cubs side much better. Speaking of lots of runs in the game, the next up we have Coors Field at 11.5 total. Both teams have a 5.75 total. You have Pinklington against Gomber. There's no need to play either one of these pitchers when you have Strider, Contreras, Winkowski, and Killian on the slate. So just cross these guys out. Even if in 150 max, I don't even think that you would really need to consider playing them. But Cleveland, I think, makes a really good stack. They have a 5.75 total here, probably the top stack if you're paying up. And then Colorado is they get a lefty. They do really good against left-handed pitching, but just looking at all the other teams on the slate, I think that I would rather play Boston, St. Louis, and the Dodgers above them, but I'm sure they will have some ownership here. Moving on to the Dodgers and the Angels, you have Reed Detmers against Tyler Anderson. Tyler Anderson's just a little too expensive. Like, the Angels are starting to get back to full strength here with everybody back in the lineup, and they don't have as many strikeouts as they did a couple weeks ago when they had a lot of the key guys out. But you just have to see what lineup comes out there. I think, he can definitely get 15 to 20 DK points, but I just like so many other people so much better. Like, for 300 more, you get Cortez against a Tampa Bay team. It just doesn't make sense. Or pay down and save a little bit and take like Barrios, who probably is going to outscore him anyway. So just kind of in no man's land. Not saying you can't play Tyler Anderson, because the Angels, obviously, they fired their manager. They lost like 12 in a row just a couple weeks ago. So they're not the same team that they have been, and you can capitalize on that with pitching, but they're not exactly Oakland. So I think he's in play, but I think he's a risky play and more of a tournament play for Anderson. Detmers on the other side is a fade for me. Just ever since the no-hitter just hasn't been the same. And against the Dodgers team, I really like the right-handed bats here against him. So that's the breakdown of all the games. And let's look at our builds here. And these builds are kind of fun here. So for cash, I want Cortez and Strider. If you want to play it from McCann, that's fine. So Contreras for the Cubs, make sure you don't take the Atlanta guy. Even though he's a good spot, I think Contreras is probably going to be on the cover here. I think he's got double home run upside again. So love him here. At first base, you want to take Swindell from the Cubs or pay up for a stack. And the stacks we're looking at here would be Atlanta, Toronto, the Dodgers, or Milwaukee. You're going to throw up when you get to second base because there's really nobody on Atlanta. Atlanta doesn't have a second baseman because Albies is out, and the guy that's filling in for him is outfield eligible. He's second base on FanDuel, but not here. Toronto, I don't know if you really want to pay up that much for SB there. The Dodgers, it's Muncy, but a lefty and lefty matchup. And Milwaukee, maybe you can find somebody. So I'm probably just going to find the cheapest guy, even if it's Tampa Bay going against Cortez, my pitcher, and Bruja at like 2-1 or 2-2. I might just put him in there just to be able to pay up. Third base, I'm taking Wisdom. And like I said, here's what you're really going to do. You really want to look at, if you don't play Schwindel at first, then you're going to take like Olsen, Swanson, and Acuna here for Atlanta. You're going to take Vlad, you're going to take Bichette, you're going to take an outfielder there, either Timo Hernandez or pay up for one of the other guys there. So Springer's who I'm thinking of. For the Dodgers, I don't know if I want to play Freddie Freeman at first because it's lefty and lefty matchup. So that's where like I'll probably play Swindell there, and then I could take obviously I'm going to take Turner. I'm going to take Betts, and then like maybe Chris Taylor instead of Morel or Harris at the final one. Hap is definitely too cheap, so he's definitely a core in the outfield there. And then at the bottom, Morel, if he fits in to finish the Cub stack. Harris, 2 for Atlanta, is super, super cheap. Or like I said, if you're playing the Dodgers or Milwaukee, you might want to play Adames, Renfroe, and then like take Yelich or take McCutchen. I take McCutchen over Renfroe. So that's where I'm going with cash. There's like, I'm probably going to have 4 different cash builds here and just rotate in Atlanta, Toronto, the Dodgers, Milwaukee in those spots. And those will be my builds. For FanDuel, I'm going to take Strider as my SP1. Like I said, I think he's going to be deep enough to get the quality start, the win, and some strikeouts. Contreras to the Cubs. Wisdom or J-Ram, you have to make the decision there for third base. And then it's just going to be a full Cleveland and Cubs stack. It works in many different ways, whether you play Wisdom, whether you play J-Ram. Maybe you can play one at third, one at utility, and then take some cheaper guys, finish off the stack. But it works in many different ways, and that's what I love with those 2 offenses, 1 Coors, 1 in the win game against suspect pitchers. They should have a high total, should be. Hopefully it works out great. GPP wise on DK, I'm looking at Berrios as my pitcher. You can go so many ways here. You can go Berrios and you can pay down for like Winkowski or Killian or Contreras and pay up for bats. You can go Berrios and McClanahan here. You can, there's so many places to go with the SP2 depending on the rest of your lineup. So I'm probably going to punt catcher. And then I'm really, like I said, I'm looking at Red Sox and I'm going to look at Cleveland here. So I think J-Ram or Devers is the biggest decision. Both of them are great spots here. Both of them against, I believe, have the split advantage against their pitcher. So at first base, am I going to take Cordero? Am I going to take Oliver Miller? If I want to pay up at second, then I'm probably going to play Oliver Miller there. If I take Story, if Cordero's not in the lineup, then obviously it makes the choice a little easier. A Rosario, Oscar Gonzalez, Straw, and Verdugo. Like I said, I'm looking for the lefties for Boston, and then I'm filling in with Cleveland. And then where I go with catcher and if I pay up for Story or not is going to decide what I can get. If I pay down, like I said, I'm able to get McClanahan with Berrios very, very easily. For GPP, for FanDuel, I have Berrios as my starting pitcher. Then again, it's deciding who you want your stack with Boston to be. So you can pay up for Story there, or you can go Arcia from the Braves, who's really cheap, or take a one off the pitcher stack. Devers, I'm putting in at third base there. Swanson, Brissett, depending on if you want to go Atlanta or Toronto. Same thing, Acuna or Springer, if you want to go Atlanta or Toronto. Verdugo, I'm putting in there. Harris, 2 or Timo Hernandez are the cheap guys for outfield. And then in utility, I'm finishing off the stack. The final thing I'll leave you with today is you can stack Cleveland and Chicago on DraftKings and make it work and actually still get a decent pitching. You can get Cortez and Berrios in one of the stacks if you play Wisdom. And actually, no, that's with paying up for J-Ram. You can get Cortez and Berrios and get a full 4-man Cubs stack and a 4-man Cleveland stack. I'm sure you'll be able to figure out how to do it. I think it even leaves $700, so you can even pay up for a one-off if one of the guys not playing and you can't fill a position, so that works. And then you can take McClanahan and Cortez if you play Wisdom at third over J-Ram, Jose Ramirez, and you can still get a full 4-man Cub stack and Cleveland stack. It works. So you're paying up for 2 pitchers. You got 2 of the best offenses there. You just don't have Ramirez. You have to go down with Wisdom and hope that he does well there, but the pitching should make up for it. And there's more floor usually with pitching than there is with hitters, because hitters can get you to 0. But there you would have to drop your Oscar. You'd have to go down from Gonzalez to Mercado, I believe, to make it work. So there's some builds for you. Again, I really, really like this slate. You really want to limit your pitching pool probably to Cortez, McClanahan, Berrios, Strider, and maybe sprinkle in some Contreras, Winkowski, and Killian. I think it makes almost everything work. Love Cleveland there in Coors. Atlanta is a great situation against Fetty. Toronto is a great situation also. San Diego is kind of a sleeper tonight. Boston lefties, St. Louis in the hot temperatures, Dodger righties, and Colorado, and then Chicago and Milwaukee make great options, and then sprinkle in the other teams as needed. So appreciate you watching. I'm Mega Ruler 31. If you have any questions, you can put them in the comments below. You can hit me up at Twitter at MegaLure31. If you want more information on FSI DFS, as always, go into the description and all the information is there. So thanks again for watching. Please like the video. It just helps us out so much. Didn't look at to see if we gained a subscriber, but we're so close to 3,500. So, if you haven't subscribed already, watch this video for regular, just subscribe, and then you'll know exactly when they're coming up and you'll see all the content that we have there. I really appreciate it also, and share with your friends. So thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time. Good luck in your contests tonight, everybody. Have a great Wednesday.